Well, Mr. Graham is an American patriot and a history in his own right, but I have to disagree with the man on that matter. For the Middle East to be permanently pacified long-term, there has to be either Israel or a Palestine which will be used as a proxy further against all kinds of Western interests. What is seen by many radical Muslims Israel as a crusading state in return, further promoting cultural clash. A huge psychological boost for further destabilizing Western nations with humongous or rising Islamic populations, not considering the interbreeding that takes place in the form of liberalization, or simply giving up tradition for the sake of whatever, is called modernity these days. Israel has to include what is still known as Palestine, in Jewish terms Samaria and Judea, properly include peace-loving Arabs and or Muslims in the state, exclude those who are ravaging entire populations psychologically and mentally taking over a Quran. They would not give an iota about should this printed artwork did not affect 2 billion people. Infesting large scheme politics mainly well harbored in D.C., their favorite London or their new nest Brussels, Berlin, and Paris. It may take decades for a smooth transition, and for that Israel is here to stay thing. But as usual in this oxymoronic reality called the Middle East to swallow, this pill will take generations, and since they failed in providing blessings and practical on how to kill the Ashkenazis in Europe with Aryan, German phone eager, while keeping the Sepharad Jews under their spiritual well legacy/social media covered yoke. As this administration of U.S. is concerned, balances have to be kept. I agree on that, yet we all have to consider 10/7/2023 an opportunity which we fairly missed in both Iraq and Afghanistan, seldom still held in Syriac borderlines, and Jordan to further push these opportunist Arabs at Damascus Bay with their only chance, maybe, becoming a Turkish vessel in full, which in turn will provide Turkey more appeal in the Arab and Islamic world in directly bordering Israel, while further aligning as necessary, and with Iran compared to Lebanese affairs, which in extension may have impact in Eastern Med. And that is for starters. The disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal and the amateurish conditions that almost surrendered Mesopotamia to these guys before someone came to his senses to keep a low footprint, while once again they declared victory, and their local caliphate compared to this Al-Qaeda. I want the earth in green and Arabic-speaking in what is still known as Iraq targeting U.S. military prestige at large, and throwing money for nothing in a land deforested by themselves over 20,000 times the last 2,000 years. Keeping the sand filled with bones and wet with sweat, tears and blood-whispering madness easier in the everyday fight for survival in a place of earth which provides nothing more than faith. If some should be afraid among us that where the United States failed in keeping their share in the Mid-East, I remind that Israel is native in these lands fighting for their right to coexist while apart from a come and gone as long as things go dry. And well, we had nothing else to do in this here than perhaps an oil deal, and keep an eye on trade and fashion routes, along with human resources estimation. If not anything else, Iraq and Vietnam, and even Soviet engagement in Afghanistan, recall the conclusion that long-term engagements can be more psychologically cost-full than money or military mechanical assets loss or proven retarded. In short, this kind of expansionism or imperialism or colonialism does not work, at least in this era or these instances for now. As I wrote elsewhere, it is about the Reconquista of knowledge, and from what I see, the West is fighting already an uphill battle from TikTok to open-wide anti-Semite protests and attacks to both Jews and native population, even 4 RTH generation immigrants well assimilated before this turd ever started. And that is that for now.